How to create conditions for her to return when you're the dumper.
Well, you got to follow what's in 7 principles to get an ex back. So oftentimes what usually happens is they break it off with a girl and they kind of have the attitude, maybe they already got a new girl they think they're going to date, or they're going to find somebody else. And then after a few weeks go by, a month goes by, they go out on a few dates that don't go well. And then they start getting worried. They get a little fearful. And they weren't really into that chick. And they dumped her because they weren't that into her. And then when they want to try to go back to her, oftentimes she's not really into it at that point. And so if that's the case, if you go and you apologize, if you really truly sincerely fucked up and you want to apologize, you have to apologize first. But you also have to be prepared. She's probably not going to say yes right away. She might, I got to think about her. I need a few days. This is overwhelming for me. Or, you left and you said some really harsh things. It's like, I know, you're right. I was an asshole. It was selfish of me or whatever. You got to apologize for that. And then you just got to let it be. You got to let the chips fall where they may. It's like, well, I understand. Well, it's like, I'd love to continue seeing you again. Reach out if you change your mind. And that's all you can do. Because if you keep chasing after somebody that you dumped and you tossed away, because oftentimes a lot of guys do the dumping and they're kind of nasty about it, and the girl's hurt because she really cared. And then the only reason you really want to go back, because when I've had phone sessions with guys over the years, I was like, well, let's go back to 90 days before you dumped her. At some point, you stop putting your best foot forward. And so if you get a girl back that you dumped and you supposedly later regretted it, what typically is going to happen is that you get back together, and like Andy used to do, he was famous for doing this with his girl. He would break it off and just say the worst, nastiest things to these girls. And then a month or so goes by and he hasn't found anybody else that he liked better. And then he gets, I got to get her back. She's the love of my life. I was like, bro, you weren't even that into her. Why don't you just find somebody else? Oh, it's the love of my life. I fucked up, man. You got to help me. I was like, all right. And so we would talk about it and strategize, and I tell him what to do. And then he'd get the girl back. And then about 3 months later, he'd return back to the same place where he just wasn't feeling it. He wasn't that into it. He'd start complaining about the same things. It's not like she's changed. It's just that guys get fearful that they're not going to find anybody better, and so they try to go back to what they had. And especially if it's been several months, she may have moved on. She may already be dating other guys. And so now that she's got other men in her life that are really treating her well and treating her special, and you hadn't been treating her good for a long time, she's had experiences with new dudes that are treating her way better than you were before you broke up. And so a lot of times she's not going to be super open to that. And so you have to apologize for what you did wrong, but if she's not down to go out or give you another try, then you just got to say, well, sorry you feel that way, but if you ever change your mind, please get in touch. And then that's it. You just never called, never text her again for any reason. And oftentimes what typically happens is a couple of weeks go by. What happens is she'll start testing the shit out of the guys that she is dating, and usually they'll start flailing, and then she reaches back out, and then you start dating, and then you get serious. But it lasts about 90 days, maybe 6 months at the most, before you realize that everything that turned you off about her to begin with, it's still there. She didn't change. She didn't become a different woman. You just weren't that into her. And so you left, but now because you haven't found anybody better yet, you're ready to give up, and you're afraid that you're never going to find anybody better, or the next girl is going to be worse. And so you try to go back to what was, but every time you do that, it just never works out. Because eventually you arrive at the same place where you feel the same way that you did before when you broke up. And then now you re-break her heart all over again because you got her hopes up, and then you just, and then it's the same problem. Like I said, Andy was one guy I remember. He was doing that all the time. It's probably about 3 different girlfriends he did that with. His ex-wife and 2 different girlfriends. And one of them he eventually married. And so far, they're living happily ever after. He would just, oh man, it was the most humiliating. And then the last time that he broke up with her, he did something, and I can't remember what it was, but he did something to embarrass her and her parents. And so now the parents didn't like him anymore. And so when he told me what he did, I was like, man, why would you say something like that? Like, especially to her parents. What a dumbass.
He said it to her parents?
Yeah, they were there.
What did he say?
I don't remember what it was. It was not, I don't want to repeat it on camera. I don't remember everything specifically, but it just wasn't nice. So now the parents don't like him. And at that point, she was starting, because about 3 months had gone by or 4 months had gone by, and he didn't find anybody else. He's like, I lost the love of my life. And that was like the 4th or 5th time that he had done that with this girl. And they were tired of, picking their daughter up and soothing her and comforting her. And they really didn't like him anymore. And I was like, man, the first thing you got to do is you got to go talk to her mom and especially your dad, and you got to apologize. And so we went through that. We discussed what he needed to say. And then after I went through all this, he's like, that's exactly what my mother said. I was like, well, your mom's fucking right. She's smart. And if you want to have a chance, you're going to have to fly to New York. And you're going to have to go talk to her parents, and you're going to have to apologize, and you're going to have to explain and convince them why it's never, ever going to happen again, because they're tired of seeing their fucking daughter crying because you're acting like a bitch. And to his credit, even though things were rocky for a couple of years after that, but it's like, once she got pregnant with their first child, it's like everything changed. He was like the last guy I ever thought would settle down and have a family with anybody, because he was so out for himself. But, they've been together for, when did they meet? 2007, 2008? That's a pretty long time. Almost 15, 16 years now. They got 2 kids. And now he's like, when we talk about it, he's like, I would die for her. I would take a bullet for her.
Where is he from?
He's from Germany.
Oh, okay.
So it's just amazing to me, because he did the same thing with a lot of girlfriends over the years. And I was always helping him get the girls back and coaching them. And I was just like, but it was like after they started having kids, it's like his whole attitude changed. It was cool to see. But in most cases, like I said, the guy gets the girl back, he gets turned off for the same reasons, and then 3 or 6 months later, he's dumping her again and breaking her heart all over again. And it's just not, you should not torture a woman emotionally because you're weak as a man.
That's so selfish.
Yeah. Because then they, like I said, they dump her and they break her heart all over again. That's just not a good way to show up as a man.
And when it's convenient for them, it's just like, oh, I need to get you back.
Yeah. Well, when guys do that, I feel I give them like another chance. Not usually a third chance. But for me, I put up it's like a wall. Like, now you're going to have to work and make me think that you've become a different person or become a better person or show your actions better.
Because you're prioritizing yourself.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're not gonna hurt me again.
But they did when you gave them a chance, didn't they?
The not the second time, because then I was kind of prepared my mind. It was like there. I'm like, if it works, it works.
But you were never really fully back into it the second or the third time around.
No, I'm not talking about that one person. Yeah, because that he mind effed me for 3 months. But he was in a effed up place as is, so. But,
the point being is it didn't work the second time or the third time around.
Yeah, no, not
if it doesn't work the first time, it's typically not going to work the second time.
Yeah, no.
You're like emotionless, like you have nothing.
Right, you're just kind of like, well, meh. Just going with the flow.
When you don't surprise her anymore, or like if you hurt her and she's kind of just like, whatever, she's used to it, it's done. It's dead from there.
Yeah.